Greetings gamers, ex-gamers and friends and family members of gamers. It's day 6 of Game Free January and I have to say I'm not even thinking about gaming and have felt no desire to return to gaming. Again, in a spirit of full disclosure, I kept tossing and turning in the night, quilts on, quilts off, leg out. But again, that's not limited to just me, and since the thought of gaming never entered my mind, I can't really claim gaming withdrawal. That being said, I've used the temperature and other people are also affected excuse 3 days in a row, so I'm going to keep a wary eye on my sleep patterns. Who knows, maybe this is a mild form of withdrawal. Of course, it could also be psychosomatic response to all the research I've been doing into addiction. Occam's razor, however, compels me to accept the simplest answer, and that is what's affecting the rest of the household is probably the same thing that's affecting me. After spending yesterday looking at the neurological mechanism behind addiction to give us a better understanding of withdrawal symptoms, I thought I'd like to take a closer look at some of these symptoms. Today, let's look at anger and verbal abuse. This is quite ironic because we're all too familiar with the toxic gamer screaming insults down the microphone at a player they deem responsible for the failure of their team. But I believe this is a completely different mechanism. In so-called gamer rage, the amygdala is doing its job because we are so immersed in the game. Outsiders looking on see a sedentary person in front of a keyboard holding a controller, pressing a few buttons. But we gamers are inside the game in an alternative reality where we are the character we play and we feel the emotions we would expect to feel if we were our own avatars, literally fighting for our lives. Our primal fight or flight mechanism is giving us that fear, anxiety and aggression, and if we are defeated in the game, we are left with all that pent-up fear, anxiety and aggression, but without the pleasurable payoff from the nucleus accumbens. The obvious solution for the gamer is to have another go, hopefully with a more successful outcome. Oh, did you beat me? Well, we'll see about that. On guard! Woe betide anyone who gets between a frustrated gamer and that all-important emotional payoff. If you see a person expressing frustration in this way, the very worst thing you can do is say to them, "It's only a game." If you must say something like, "You'll get them next time." However, probably the best thing you can say is nothing at all. The best gift you can give to a frustrated gamer is silence, so that they can gather their thoughts and mentally prepare for either returning to reality or having another go. Of course, this doesn't affect all gamers the same. Some people can game and only feel a mild annoyance that they calmly control. Others rage to the point of becoming viral YouTube stars, putting their fist through an expensive monitor or smashing their keyboard. In fact, someone even said, "You're not a true gamer unless you have at least one broken keyboard." I suspect, though, that people who behave that outrageously are either hamming it up for the camera or had anger management issues long before they started gaming. This mild annoyance is not isolated to gamers, though. If you're at work and you have a busy deadline and someone inconsiderate enough to interrupt you, then your patience is going to wear thin. Don't you dare interrupt a fan while watching a football match, especially if it's gone to penalties, or a soap viewer in the middle of Coronation Street or EastEnders. This is the reason why the advice, "just take the controller off them, if they rage, they're an addict," just doesn't work and leads to unnecessary strife. Increasing anger and irritability when away from gaming for a prolonged period can't be explained by this mechanism. It has also been documented a number of addicts going through withdrawal, and it is not exclusive to gamers. In fact, When I go on a diet, as I will be in February, my poor family will have to put up with my increased irritability and intolerance, which is a well-documented withdrawal symptom from excessive calorie intake. Coincidentally, recovering alcoholics, people quitting smoking, and recovering drug addicts all report increased irritability and anger, as well as violent mood swings. I tried for several hours to find some molecular explanation but drew a blank. We all find ourselves more irritable when we're desperate for the toilet, and more relaxed after a visit. It is the persistent reminder from our body that makes concentration and focus difficult. Difficulty concentrating due to unwelcome internal and external distractions increase irritability. But healthy people don't rage at someone for talking to them when they need the loo. I think the uncontrollable outbursts might have something to do with a lack of self-control due to diminished activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. This is evident in brain scans of addicts when compared to control groups. This is compounded with the fact that this area of the brain is already preoccupied with suppressing cravings. Some studies have shown that people who have to practice self-denial early in the day have more difficulty practicing self-denial later in the day. If you have had a really hard day, it's far more difficult to resist that naughty self-indulgence at the end of the day. If you have tried cramming for an exam or studying a particular subject for a long time without a break, you find it increasingly difficult to concentrate. These diminishing returns are probably due to a limited number of neurotransmitters in the vesicles limiting the rate at which nerves can fire. The brain needs a rest from a particular activity so that the neurotransmitters can be regenerated during that rest. The brain may well adapt to needing those neural pathways more, and so nerve endings grow more receptors or grow closer together in a process that I think is technically referred to as learning. In this way, if the neural pathways in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex are overworked trying to say no to cravings, they are too exhausted to cope with day-to-day distractions and stresses. If you are a friend or family member of a person trying to change their lives, whether it's quitting video games or quitting smoking, drinking, drugs, gambling, or some other vice, and you find them to be considerably harder to live with, bear in mind they probably are just as confused and perplexed at their overreactions as you are. After they snapped your head off for just offering them a cup of coffee, if they're anything like me, they may well feel embarrassed or humiliated, and while their behaviour should not be tolerated or ignored or excused, it shouldn't be harshly judged or retaliated against, and certainly shouldn't be held against them indefinitely as a grudge. Correct the inappropriate behaviour, then forgive and move on, and bear in mind, recovering from addiction is a long, torturous process that might well last a lifetime. If you're finding yourself increasingly irritable, be quick to apologise and look for a safety valve where you can work off your frustration in a way that doesn't cause harm to others. Maybe go for a walk or a jog, or practice primal screaming in the park, or just rant quietly under your breath in another room until a concerned family member asks if you're alright. Whatever you do though, don't try to control your feelings with a relapse or substitute one self-destructive pattern of behaviour for another. If you feel that you might have a problem with excessive gaming and are worried you might be developing an addiction, why not follow along or try out this simple test of going game-free for a month? Remember, it can be any month and you don't have to start on the 1st. Why not post a comment and let me know how you're doing, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But as for me, big fat hairy 5 days and counting non-gamer, I'll look forward to seeing you in another video.